Oh, hello everyone and welcome to Diamond Art with Del. Today I will be doing a resin video for you guys. I've mixed up some epoxy resin. It is a 1-to-1 ratio resin that I usually use. So I've added it into separate sections into the cups. I will be using multiple different glitters and a little bit of pigment. This is a yellow-orange colour. And I'll be using some little long spoons and so forth to get those out. And I will be using this mould today. So the mould I've chosen to work on is this lovely piece. It is of I suppose you call a ballroom dancer lady. That's sort of a nature lady as well. She has some flowers and sort of like tree-like branches coming from behind her. And that's to help hang all the little bits and pieces of jewellery in that, because this one is actually a jewellery stand at the back there. So I have got some gold glitter that I'm going to add. This one is sort of like a peach colour, and I'm going to put some of that in there. It's a bit more chunkier. And I'm also using some of this one. It's got like little stars and whatnot, so it's going to be quite pretty. And just as a bit of back base, I'm thinking of putting a bit of colour as well into the resin. So they will be all mixed in, and I'll be using some long-handled spoons to help with that. Now I've also got a lighter, and that is just so that I can pop any bubbles along the way. You know, just give it a bit of a flash over the top using this flame. And hopefully I can get rid of any nasty bubbles that come up. Now I mixed up my resin. This is, as I said, is a 1-to-1 ratio epoxy resin. And I've just gently been stirring that for a good 3 to 5 minutes now. And just then I let it sit for a little while just to try and bring up any bubbles to the top and let them pop. So now that everything's sort of ready to go, I'm just setting up where I'd like to have my actual mould to make sure the area was level before I started. Now I'm just going to add a couple of drops of colour to the resin to see how that comes basically together. So I'm going to stir that in and just see what sort of colour we get. Now, if I don't really need a really strong colour base, this was just sort of help just fill it in, basically, was the idea. Because I didn't want to have like a clear gaps in between my glitters. So I'm going to add this one, just a few drops. I might add a little bit more. I'll see how we go as I mix it. Now, the next part that I'll add into this is a little bit of sparkle. And I have this pretty interesting sort of peach colour. It's a very chunky glitter, actually. It's really pretty, though. It's got sort of an aurora borealis sort of colours to it and so forth. And I just don't know. It's just a really, really amazing sort of colours. So I'm going to add that in to my base resin I've just mixed up there with just a little bit of back tone just to fill in the gaps, because I just didn't want like a full clear colour. I didn't want anything too overpowering to my glitter that I'm using. So, and I'm pretty heavy-handed, honestly, to be honest, with the glitter. I liked it. I want a good solid coverage of it, but yeah, it's just in planning ahead sort of thing, hoping that if there's any gaps in between my glitter, I didn't want any sort of real clear. So hopefully this works. So I'm going to gently stir that through. You can just see that beautiful sparkle. Look at that. So I'm just going to saturate all the actual glitter, because I find this is a good way to, you know, make sure I get a good coverage. And hopefully I don't trap any bubbles in doing so, and help to reduce that as well. If I was to say put all the glitter in the base of the mould and then poured my resin, I've got a good chance of bubbles being trapped, and therefore, you know, when I actually demould, I'll have all that on the actual top of my design, and that won't look really good. Okay. So I've just added another good dollop of glitter into there because I felt it needed a bit more, just to give it a really nice thick texture. And I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. As you can see, it's got quite a good coverage of glitter, but you can also just see a little bit of those colour pigments as well in the background. I'm actually going to add a little bit of the same colour into the other container holding clear mixed resin. And I'm going to give that one a little stir as well. So I'm just making sure that colour is mixed well into the actual resin. So these are alcohol inks. This is an alcohol ink that I'm adding at the moment. Now this particular one I'm using in this video I just got from Amazon. I have now purchased some different brands and I find them a lot better. So you do have to have a bit of trial and error with your products, but it's not too bad. But I actually like my other brands better now. So yeah, it's a bit of fun. Now this one here is a really fine gold glitter and I'm going to add that now into this base. Again, using my big long spoon, I'm going to add quite a few little spoonfuls, I think, of this very fine gold glitter. Yeah, a couple of those, that'll do. See how that goes first. I can always add a bit more if I feel that it's not quite the look I'm wanting. But to take out the glitter, it's going to be a lot harder. So I'll just add a couple of scoops in there and just, mix that thoroughly. See what it looks like. If you're then happy with what you've got, then you can proceed to start your pours and so forth. Alright, so those two are mixed up, ready to go. Now this is the actual base and I'm just cleaning it up a little bit with some sticky tape to make sure there's no foreign bodies on my mould before I actually pour. And I'm actually going to put this lovely peach colour glitter, and that's going to be the whole base I'm going to use with this one. Now I probably find that I don't do the base quite right in this video at the start, and I sort of learn how to cover it properly, so I sort of leave those little sections in the middle there that are protruding out uncovered. But they are the actual slots for where the lady will stand into the stand. So to say. Yeah, so I then later on cover those over properly. But for now, it's looking really pretty and I'm really happy with it. So I'm going to add a bit of this colour now to the very bottom of the mould so that the colours sort of blend together from the stand. So that was my thinking here. I wanted the stand to have a colour, but I wanted that to blend from the stand into her dress, into the base of the dress or her feet area, because that will actually click in when it's all put together. So I wanted them to match. All right, a little bit of speed up just to get this done. Now I'm adding some of that beautiful sparkly gold. Now I decided to put that in amongst the flowers. I thought around the top sort of, I call them sort of like branch areas of flowers and so forth behind her. I decided they should be gold for some reason. I thought that would look really attractive, so I popped them in. Now the centre of her dress I thought needed a little bit of a wow factor, and so I decided to put clear and then added in that beautiful multi-shaped and sort of pink fleckers and put that through the centre of the design just to give it a bit of contrast and so forth. And that's coming along really well. They match nicely together, the pink and that orange. Now I'm continuing to fill in those fine details of the mould using the gold glitter and a little bit of clear just to help sort of push it along. I'm also using a toothpick there just to sort of guide the resin into those fine areas and making sure I don't have any bubbles, etc., that kind of thing. Yeah, it's just to try and make it really nice and tidy. Now, for some reason, I decided to try and add a little bit of colour to the very top of her hair. I thought it needed to sort of connect to those back branch areas and things like that she's got behind her. So I wanted to use a little bit of the gold. So I just put a little bit of alcohol ink there into the clear and just sort of tried to mix it and blend it so that they come together. And then I decided to put some of the actual gold glitter over the top anyway. This kind of worked, but also it sort of, the colours bled into her face, which I didn't like. So I'll actually end up scooping some of that out later and putting some more clear back in, because I didn't like the yellow of her face. It made her look a bit jaundiced, honestly. And yeah, it didn't look really good. So I didn't like that I added that couple of droplets of colour. Continuing to just clean around the edges to make sure the mould is as clean as possible here. And making sure I've got into all the little areas nice and evenly. Now, as I said, I wasn't happy with that face, so I still keep fidgeting with that quite a bit. A little bit more clear just to fill in the mould in the centre and blend that through. And it's starting to look really nice. Gently to take out some of the colour, I just sort of try and let it pour, because if I scrape too much, I tend to make too many bubbles, and that can be not what we want basically in our resin piece. So yeah, a little bit slowly trying to get some of that resin out of the cups, just to reduce any bubbles coming on. Little top-ups here and there, trying to blend the branches back to her body, but I didn't want the colours to blend and bleed into her. A clear dress design, basically. I wanted that to still be quite separate. Little touch-up of the hair once more. Alright, so here I've decided that I'll go for broke and just threw a whole heap of glitter on top of the stand and mix it in, because I didn't like how clear some of the areas was. It was showing way too much gaps for me. So I thought I'll throw in a whole heap of glitter and mix it in while it's still there, just because it was one colour and only. Now I'm just torching over the actual base and, of course, my lady, the mould there, and just to reduce any bubbles that are popping up. Just waving that over and just checking continuously for bubbles. I'll let this sit for a little while, about 10 minutes, and come back and do the same, and just to see if any more bubbles come up. So now we are the next day. So this is 24 hours at least later. It's probably actually a bit more. And the mould is now nice and dry and firm and ready to be demoulded and checked out. So this is the fun part, guys. This is the best bit of all. Yeah, so we're going to have a look at the base. So it's got beautiful shine and glitter. I love how glossy this resin is too. Now getting ready for the pop. There it goes. Out they come. A bit of effort to bring that out of there, but yeah, it's really nice and clean. This has a beautiful smooth texture. I'm really happy how sparkly it looks. It looks like it's come up really nicely and clean, and I'm really happy with that. Look at that. It's got a little ridge around the sides here, so it's not exactly, just straight and boring. So it looks good. It looks good. Now for the actual lady, to demould her, she is going to be a very tricky little piece, because she's quite delicate around these leaves and flowers. And I don't know if you can see, inside the little leaves is actually where those little sections of the mould go through. And that is to leave holes so that you can put your jewellery into the stand. So it actually has like the drill hole areas, if you like to say, inside the actual mould. So, they are quite firmly in place, and I didn't want to bend the resin. or snap anything off, honestly. So I just gently, quietly just sort of peeled it back bit by bit, giving it good support with my other hand. But it is coming away nicely. Look at that. There we go. To remove the hair was quite easy. But once again, a little bit fidgety to get around these leaves and those finer branches and so forth and flowers. So again, just getting the click out of those little plugs. They pop out one by one. They're quite firm in there. So yeah, I was just being very careful, and again supporting the back with my other hand so that I'm not pulling too much on the mould in one direction. Lovely. Okay, so now that I've got that top just about free now, a little bit of drips and drabs that come off the edges, we can peel away the dress. Now, I actually domed this while this was in the mould as well, so that was actually a mistake on my behalf, and I'll tell you why in a moment. It looks absolutely gorgeous to dome it, don't get me wrong, and it does look rather nice, but what I did accidentally was dome too far. Oh, look at that. So that is basically my mould and my absolutely beautiful result. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. That was a really nice little mould. It's made a really beautiful piece, honestly. There you go, lovely. Now, I don't know if you can see all the details there, but yeah, you can see some of the glitters, the different types of glitters that were used within her body, and it's blending in together quite nicely. And I just add a little bit of gold into that bottom flower just to connect it all together. Yeah, that's come up beautiful. The colours have worked out well. Now I've got a little bit of a texture design as well in this mould. You can sort of see some flowers and so forth on her hair and in her dress, and I'll show you how they come up a bit later. So this bit here is why I shouldn't have domed all the way down, because now I can't actually clip that into my base. So if you are going to dome and finish off your piece that way, make sure you don't go right down to the actual little plugs of the stand, because otherwise you can't click them in properly, and you'll have to do what I did and just actually file them back with a sanding tool of some sort, and then you can click them in properly. But there you go. That is it. It looks absolutely fantastic. I love this piece. This is actually for a gift, so it's going to be gorgeous when it's all done. The next little bit is to just make sure all these little holes are clean, and I will poke them through with just a skewer as such, just to get rid of any residue. Clean the edges maybe with a little light sanding if I need to, and then it's all put together. So here we go, all done. Those bases will get sanded so it can click, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I really like this one. It turned out pretty great. I will probably make some more of these. It was a lot of fun to mix with all the colours, and it looks great. I see all the details of this mould has worked out really well. So I'm very happy with that. It's very pretty. And lots of sparkle. Wonderful. Alright guys, well that's pretty much it. I'll show you some more end results of this one where it's got the details painted up shortly. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more. And yeah, have a great day guys, doing whatever you're doing. And check out some of the finished pieces of my works of this one once it's all painted up. And that technique is rather easy. It's just a bit of acrylic paint and then wipe it back. Too easy. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day guys.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. me